Spoilers, Gio and Chase bond, and Lois may not like it. General Hospital, spoilers reveal Gio Palmieri, Giovanni Mazza, seemed quite comfortable with Harrison Chase's, Josh Swickard, news that he and Brooklyn Quartermaine, Amanda Seton, were working on having a baby. Until this week, plenty of fans thought there might be a massive family secret that Gio is actually Brooklyn and Dante Falconier's, Dominic Zamprogna, child, given up for adoption years ago behind almost everyone's backs. Fans naturally presumed that there was no way Gio knew the truth, and we still don't know that he does. But if his taking up residence at the Q Mansion while Chase and Brooklyn are there too starts to pave the way for him to grow closer to both of them, it could leave Lois Cerullo, Rena Sofer, feeling rather uneasy. So what gives, and why wouldn't she want Gio to embrace his birth mother's husband, his stepfather? General Hospital spoilers, does Gio Palmieri know the truth? It's possible that Gio might know the truth, but we have to admit it would be pretty ridiculous if Lois clued him in while not letting Brooklyn or Dante know that he is their son. Letting Gio cozy up to his biological family while keeping it a secret that he's actually related to them doesn't sound like the healthiest scenario. We have to imagine he doesn't know he has family ties to the Qs and Falconeri/Corinthos clan. At the same time, that doesn't mean Lois won't dislike him getting chummy with Chase when she knows Brooklyn hasn't even told Chase she ever gave up a baby for adoption in the first place. Is it all too close for comfort? Spoilers, ask whether Brooklyn Quartermaine knows either? Obviously, if Brooklyn gave up a child for adoption, she's well aware of it. She's also acutely aware that she's keeping it from her husband. That's a big no-no in their relationship because she already almost lost the guy due to keeping secrets from him. This is a pretty darn big one, too. There is little to no chance that Brooklyn knows Gio is the child she gave up, or she would be far more interested in getting to know him and forging a mother-son relationship versus just treating him like a kid from the neighborhood whose musical talents she admires. General Hospital spoilers, Harrison Chase certainly doesn't. Gio seemed to be rooting for Brooklyn and Chase to have a baby, and some fans have interpreted that as him possibly being eager to have a sibling in the house. We think Gio is just a fan of love and big families. He came from that background, after all. Plus, Chase is more of a blue-collar and down-to-earth guy just like him. It's not surprising that they would get along well. But will they bond a little too much, more than Lois is comfortable with when she does know the truth? If so, she should have an interesting time explaining why it's such a problem when she is almost guaranteed to overreact to their budding friendship. Port Charles had a knack for throwing people together in unexpected ways, and this time was no different. Detective Harrison Chase had been through a lot lately, his roller coaster of a relationship with Brooklyn Quartermaine, his reinstatement to the PCPD, and his attempts to find stability amidst chaos. The last thing he expected was to strike up an unexpected friendship with Giovanni Gio Russo, Sonny Corinthos' quiet yet fiercely loyal bodyguard. It all began with a chance encounter at the boxing gym. Chase had always loved boxing as a way to clear his mind, and that day was no exception. He was mid-round with the punching bag when Gio walked in, his presence unmistakable. Broad-shouldered, stoic, and exuding the kind of quiet confidence that made wary, Gio nodded at Chase in acknowledgement before starting his warm-up routine. "Nice jab," Gio remarked after a while, his deep voice cutting through the rhythmic thudding of gloves on leather. Chase paused, wiping sweat from his brow. "Thanks. You box?" "Used to," Gio replied, wrapping his hands with tape. "It's been a while, but it's like riding a bike, right?" Before long, they were sparring, exchanging light jabs and good-natured banter. To Chase's surprise, Gio wasn't as intimidating as he'd seemed. Beneath the tough exterior was someone who understood loyalty, duty, and the cost of living in a world where those values often collided. Their gym encounters became regular, and so did their conversations. They started talking about everything from Port Charles's quirks to the complexities of their lives. For Chase, it was refreshing to talk to someone who wasn't tied to his past or his romantic drama with Brooklyn. For Gio, it was a chance to connect with someone outside the mob world. But as their bond grew, not everyone was thrilled about it, particularly Lois Cerullo. Lois had recently returned to Port Charles, bringing her fiery Brooklyn attitude and strong opinions with her. She'd come back to support Brooklyn and had quickly found herself entangled in the Quartermain drama. While she liked Chase and appreciated how he'd stood by her daughter, she was wary of his growing friendship with Gio. "You've got to be kidding me," Lois muttered one evening at the Quartermain mansion, watching from the window as Chase and Gio laughed over coffee at Kelly's. Brooklyn, lounging on the couch with a notebook, raised an eyebrow. "What's eating you now, Ma?" Lois crossed her arms. "That detective you're sweet on is getting chummy with Sonny Corinthos' muscle. Doesn't that bother you?" Brooklyn rolled her eyes. "Joe's not that bad. He's not exactly Sonny's top enforcer or anything. Besides, Chase can handle himself." "Maybe," Lois said, her tone skeptical. "But getting too close to Sonny's world is a bad idea. I've seen what happens when good people get mixed up with mobsters. It never ends well." Brooklyn tried to brush it off, but Lois wasn't easily deterred. The next day, she confronted Chase at Kelly's. "Detective Chase," Lois began, sliding into the seat across from him. "Lois," he replied, setting down his coffee. "What can I do for you?" "I'll cut to the chase," she said, leaning forward. "What's the deal with you and Gio?" Chase blinked, caught off guard. "Gio? He's a good guy. We've been working out together at the gym." "Why?" "Because he works for Sonny Corinthos, that's why," Lois said, her voice low but insistent. "I know you're a smart guy, but getting too close to someone like that is dangerous. I've seen how Sonny's world sucks people in." Chase frowned. "I appreciate your concern, Lois, but Joe's not Sonny. He's his own person. Besides, I know where to draw the line." "I hope so," Lois said, her eyes narrowing. "Because the last thing Brooklyn needs is to get caught up in more drama." Despite Lois' warning, Chase wasn't deterred. In fact, it only strengthened his resolve to prove her wrong. Over the next few weeks, his bond with Gio deepened. They started hanging out outside the gym, grabbing drinks at the Savoy or shooting pool at Charlie's. Gio even opened up about his life, a rare occurrence for someone as guarded as him. "I wasn't always in this line of work," Gio admitted one night as they nursed beers at the bar. "I used to work construction. Honest work, good pay. But life has a way of throwing curveballs.